During the Meiji and Taisho periods, when Japan was still prosperous, it's true the Japanese treasured quality. As they say, you get what you pay for, suggest. We used to hold quality in great esteem. Japanese are fastidious, after all. Japanese agriculture projects are still of high quality and held in high regard. Hey, Julie, you shop at supermarkets too, right? When you do, if you choose between Chinese vegetables and domestic vegetables that cost 2 to 3 times as much, which do you buy? It depends how they taste. That is a slimy question, because this is like selling fake vegetables at this point. It would be like, oh, I need to buy a fucking orange. And it's not an orange, it's like a fucking apple that's painted orange. And they're like, here's an orange. Well, no, I'm gonna fucking buy the orange if I need the orange. Or want the orange. The real one. When you have a choice between American beef and domestic beef that costs 2 to 3 times as much, which do you buy? Again, depends on the quality. Well, once you put it in your mouth, the taste is pretty much the same. No, it's not. There's so much difference between shit meat and good meat. Oh my god. Spoken like someone who hasn't eaten like a fuck ton of meat. Holy fuck. There's so many garbage cuts of meat. There's just fat, just tendons. Shit like that. You can't eat it. You just cut away more than you actually eat. But if you spent a little bit more, you'd have had a really nice quality. Something that tastes amazing. Ridiculous. And it seems dumb to waste money on the same vegetables for nationalistic ideas. Though when you hear about things like PM 2.5 hazardous agricultural chemicals and mad cow disease, it's a bit scary sometimes. Yeah, and then we'll actually talk about, at least in today's, like, if there's standards met or not. Like, if it's 2 to 3 times cheaper, but it doesn't go through, like, the FDA or any kind of screening. Fuck no, I'm not eating it, no matter how cheap it is. Price is important, right? The average person doesn't have enough leeway for unneeded expenses. It's about health and not dying. Poverty brings simplicity, just as the proverb says. Or you just skip a meal, okay? Let's be real here. When the Japanese lost their country, quality became secondary. They began to decide everything based on price. At the time, high-quality Japanese agricultural products were treated as high-grade vegetables, and most were exported to wealthy people in China. And to be fair, also with the soy sauce shit, they're already buying it! They can't complain about spending money on higher quality shit when they're buying it! Fuck off and saying you're poor. You're literally buying it. On the flip side, large quantities of so-called poison vegetables, those mass-produced products with harmful chemical fertilizers created by low-wage labor in foreign countries, were imported. I wouldn't eat them! As far as words went, people valiantly said that they never eat poison vegetables. If something literally said poison vegetables, I wouldn't eat it. I'm sorry. That kind of is the line. I'll just fucking not. However, there's nothing else to be found on supermarket shelves. Only a small quantity of high-grade domestic vegetables was available. The reason goes without saying, consumer demand tells all. If it won't sell, it fades away. It's true for traditional culture and everything else. Madame Rose was able to see it. She saw a future where the Japanese people, who had grown simple due to poverty, would eventually lose all of their culture. I wonder if you could just stockpile it and then wait until they get a bunch of money and then start selling it. Whatever. The Japanese love of small change made them sell away real soy sauce by their own hands. Then, reluctant to give up their change, they willingly bought up fake soy sauce. What? Okay, no, they're selling it 3 times. This is actually like literally only profit, right? Because you buy one, you sell it. That means you have 3 for the price of 1. That means you can go back and buy 3 soy sauce, sell that. Now you have 9. The price of 9. Then you can buy one. I am 8 times richer than when I started with the soy sauce that I just bought. There is no reason not to play that kind of game. It's literally just printing money. If that represented the needs of the consumer, then the merchant would have to obey. Even though they wish that everyone remembered soy sauce fondly, would cause a revival in its distribution. I feel like they really shouldn't have said they're selling it for higher the price than they're selling. like the Japanese are selling, because it just creates a market inefficiency that end up being taken advantage if like Japanese people weren't stupid, because they just buy soy sauce, sell it, buy more soy sauce, sell it, and keep going back and forth, and then you literally have an infinite amount of money until they stop buying it. But then you can just buy real soy sauce and you're way richer than what you were. Whatever. That wish was only lip service. They only wished. No one would try to share in the effort and pain it would take to make it come true. I'm sorry, the Japanese are actually just that stupid not to take advantage of that. The Japanese are fond of phrases like, both parties in a fight are to blame, and the rich never quarrel. And wise men stay away from danger. Both parties in a fight are to blame? What? Ah, oh, that's so dumb. Fuck. They treat being unconcerned about everything as a virtue. Oh, I hate these people. I actually hate these people. Ignoring things is cool, and passionately getting involved in something is uncool. They're strange people, where refusing to show a reaction is the adult thing to do, and simply sitting around quietly like a tree is an ideal. Yo, dude, shit on Japanese people more. How could a people like that protect anything they'd inherited? They couldn't. Our world of 21st century Japan doesn't exist because the Americans and Chinese destroyed everything. This day came because we Japanese ourselves never put in any effort. The soy sauce culture, which Madame Rosa tried to revive, the soy sauce fever, was easily hijacked by a modest act of bullying by Wang. The city was still charged with soy sauce fever. Sure enough, the streets were filled with the wonderful scent of soy sauce, just as Rose had wanted. However, it was all fake soy sauce, whose smell alone only barely imitated the real thing. The taste couldn't be faked. Everyone recognized the taste of fake soy sauce. However, no one tried to get real soy sauce. It was expensive after all. But they're printing money! They're letting you sell it! But even so, if everyone had shared in the burden, it would have been possible to return its price down to its old level. I'm sorry, but if these people can't even help themselves, why even try? Like, what's the point? Why even help these people if they're not going to help themselves? Honest fucking question. And now the dream had already been crushed. The miserable situation in Tokyo had left President Satomi deeply disappointed. Hey, you know what? This is what you get for Chinese nationalism, or Japanese nationalism, buddy. They fucking suck. Particularly painful was the shock to discover that they had sold real soy sauce to Chinatown and used the money to buy fake soy sauce. That doesn't make sense to me. That last sentence literally makes no sense to me. It is brain dead. I can't wrap my head around it. Oh, I understand that the people of Tokyo are all poor and have it rough. Satomi? Satomi's voice through the phone was disgusted. Sales were excellent, and the soy sauce sold out on the same day. Good. That's all that matters. Because people in the soy sauce business heard that report first, the shock had been massive when they learned the truth. The craftsmen are filled with disappointment and anger. They're saying the sellout Japanese of Tokyo could never appreciate the taste of soy sauce. True. As I told you before, many of us in countryside consider Tokyo dwellers to be country sellers who sold their souls to the occupying forces. Part of this plan had been to somehow win them over and soothe them, but with this instant, they've totally lost the desire to sell the soy sauce to Tokyo dwellers. We should have waited until the people of Tokyo were more well off. It was premature. No, it wouldn't have mattered. The way this mindset is, it literally would not have mattered. At any point in time, this would have happened. Because they literally make more money when they sell that soy sauce, but they still choose to buy the cheap shit. It would never have mattered. They could have made excuses like that. However, as people who had been watching City 23 from the end of the war until today, Rose understood. Now was the only time. If it had been any sooner, no one would have had enough spare money to buy soy sauce. Improved wages had created that spare money. Exactly! I don't like that fucking bullshit excuse that they don't have money. They literally do. I want Rose to really hammer on that. However, if they took their time, soy sauce culture would have really fade out. It would be overwhelmed by the many food products released in the market by occupying forces. If you asked a man, they might complain about this being important or the result of a woman's shallow thinking. Of course, it has to be a woman's shallow thinking, naturally. However, Rose's feminine instincts had clearly picked up on this. There's no time except now. If this failed, soy sauce culture would be forever lost. Is that your woman's intuition, Rose? I picked up on a more certain sense of urgency. Not something as vague as that. Oh, guess it means that your efforts were just a bit ahead of the times. It's interesting to compare a man's field of vision with a microscope and a woman's with a radar. Men are best at focusing in on one thing and analyzing in extreme detail, just like a microscope. On the other hand, women have extremely wide ranges of vision, which stretch much further than the naked eye can see, and which specialize in analyzing many things at once, just like a radar. Because of this, when a dangerous shadow suddenly appears in front of the ship's course, women can take notice sooner than men and understand the danger. When this happens, men will ask women about the shadow's shape, its material, its mass, all information from a microscope's perspective. That doesn't really matter. Of course, radar can't pin down such micro information, so women can't answer these questions from men. When this happens, men laugh at women for being so cowardly, so shallow that they got worked up about information so vague. They didn't even know such basic details. This ability of women to observe events outside men's ranges of vision is what's commonly called women's intuition. Women's. Unfortunately, it was probably hard for a president to tell me a man to share Rose's vague sense of danger. Damn, imagining listening to someone else because they're a female. Yeah, men rule. Everyone in the soy sauce industry was also a man. Wow, go figure. This, like, a bunch of fucking sexist shit has been said from, like, all these guys, and wow, go figure, they're all men. Surely they had laughed at Rose's plan for being impatient from the start, prepared to shut it down if even the slightest problem appeared. By now, it was already impossible to ask the soy sauce industry to start selling to the masses again. If Richard did it, it probably would have been fine. If he had, like, brokered the deal, which sucks. Rose's woman's intuition told her that. Well, Rose, it's not like you did anything wrong. Timing was just a little bit off. And after I asked you to make such difficult changes, giving us a chance. I'm sorry. If anyone should apologize, it's me. You have nothing to apologize for. People of Tokyo have made their decision. That's all there is to it. We decided on our own to choose a fake over the real thing. Satomi had probably trying to soothe Rose by telling her it isn't her fault. However, those words made Rose feel even deeper pain in her heart. Come here, Rose. Satomi explained that the soy sauce industry refused to cooperate any longer. They'd only just managed to rebuild themselves by selling through luxury channels. However, since all the soy sauce in City 23 had been gathered in one place, it was now rapidly spreading into black market through Chinatown. They would slash the prices of higher-grade soy sauce. The soy sauce industry had been hurt both as a luxury item and a consumer good. They were enraged, saying that their favor of switching to the consumer market had repaid with betrayal. You already got paid for it, it doesn't matter. There's only a limited quantity, they can't reproduce it. The union says it'll stop production for a while, wait for the market price to rise again, then return to its previous luxury good model. Fuck these people, I don't care. But you can still fuck them. They're just fucking nationalist dogs. Fuck them. Like, they could still just sell it and make a bunch of fucking money, but who cares? Even I owe a lot to the union. I ask a lot of them, too. It won't be possible to cooperate any longer. Forgive me, Rose. No, thank you very much for your support, President Satomi. Don't worry so much about it. It didn't work out in the end. But I was able to find a precious friend in Tokyo. Also, though it didn't go well for you, the distribution through Tokyo turned out good for us. The soy sauce industry had been angered, but Satomi had profited considerably from the distribution route to Tokyo that Primavera had offered. His dream of making massive profits from that route had been crushed, but it certainly hadn't ended with Satomi losing. When times comes that I can help you in another way, I certainly will. Anyway, I'd like to let it go get you down. Feel free to drop by whenever you like. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Rose set down the receiver and gave a long sigh. It was now official. The soy sauce distribution plan had failed. Fuck Japanese people. He got us good, that Wang. As a preemptive strike against us. Which is why, when they started having it in that building, we attacked that night. That's all we had to do. We just take our shit fucking back, dude. It's fucking war. They struck us 3 times now? And we don't retaliate? What are we? Fucking bitch? Strike. No, it's not that. I think it's just a message. If we don't obey, this will only be the beginning. No, not in that direction. It's more fundamental. Rose stood up and looked outside through the curtains. For a while, she gazed fondly over the great river of exhaust fumes and asphalt, with cars crossing left and right. Let me hear your opinion. Claudia told me. She said that there's more and more restaurants buying that Chinatown substitute soy sauce. We're in the middle of a soy sauce fever, after all. Food industry has seen an unprecedented boom in food using soy sauce. Demand is high. Even so, those who won't buy real soy sauce because it's too expensive. It isn't surprising that the substitute soy sauce is selling so well. In that case, demand for substitute soy sauce would shoot up, and of course, it would be distributed more widely. The source of supply of substitute soy sauce is Chinatown. She said that right now the connections between the Japanese shopping centers and Chinatown distributors are expanding rapidly. In the past, Rose had tried to help the community of her countrymen by prioritizing businesses owned by them with making purchases. Most of her countrymen had supported this, and a firm Japanese colony had formed in City 23, unlike anything you would see in Tokyo's other cities. However, that had fallen apart, and foreign businessmen like the Chinese were being used more often again. Then the big tree formed by the Japanese colony would dry up bit by bit from the roots, eventually drying up all the way to the leaves. It'd go back to the society at the brink of destruction, with shops withering and getting bought by foreigners. They'd existed until Rose's ideals had shown everyone a brief glimpse of utopia. Literally, the only reason we aren't doing well is because of fucking nationalist bullshit. Sucks. I was just about to go. Right at the formation of the Primavera family, the people listened to our words, but it's only natural that their thoughts would gradually switch from ideals to profit. Fuck them. I've heard that they've avoided dealing with Chinese distributors so far, afraid of Primavera's eyes on them, but because of this fake soy sauce fever, that's all fallen apart at once. That's what Claudia says. At this rate, real soy sauce will be driven out by this fake soy sauce. Hey Claudia, tell me something. How can we get the people to choose real soy sauce over the fake stuff? How can we get them to understand that failing to do this means ending our soy sauce culture by their own hands? It's simple, there's only one way. We need to oppose it by lowering the price to be the same as the substitute soy sauce and making the amount of the supply the same too. Oh my god, if it was only that easy. Jump off a fucking bridge. If you do that, no one would choose to buy those disgusting fakes. Even a child would be able to tell the difference. We could bring the triple price soy sauce back to its old price. I know if we could do that, then we could exterminate the fake soy sauce. Anyone could tell you that the real thing would sell then. Rose was no fool. She had looked into whether Primavera could provide a financial support and lower the price until mass distribution cut the price down. However, the estimate had amounted to a massive sum. It had been a 10-year plan for mass distribution to lower the price. It would be completely impossible to subsidize soy sauce expenses to support the hundreds of thousands of Japanese customers in the city over that period. Consumers. Primavera did own the special offers window, but nearly all of those funds had been returned as wages for laborers. Even so, it was true that they possessed considerable financial power, but it wasn't nearly enough to subsidize the flavoring that general townspeople used every day. There were no accurate records left, but it was estimated that the average Japanese individual consumed more than 10 liters of soy sauce per year before the shortage caused the war. That's so much. The Japanese bought and were dependent on soy sauce to a degree that a 21st century Japanese person could hardly imagine now that foreign food cultures dominate. Crazy shit. The Japanese population of City 23 was also hard to measure accurately, but a rough estimate would probably put it at about 300,000 people. In other words, if the people of City 23 regained their Japanese food culture according to Rose's ideals and consumed soy sauce, the City 23's annual soy sauce consumption would top 3 million liters, might even go as high as 4 million. Will obviously go higher due to the fact that it's like new and shit. But you know. The price of 1 liter of soy sauce was 3 times the pre-war level, and Primavera was distributing it for 33 Japanese dollars. In other words, to return to its former price, they need to support the cost by the 22 Japanese dollars per liter. If we assume City 23's annual consumption is 4 million liters, they would need to offer financial support of 88 million Japanese dollars per year. A number almost as large as 100 million Caleb had gathered by strangling the whole city would need to be paid every year for a decade. Even Rose was forced to conclude that this was unrealistic. Well, you can still get, like, extra taxes because, like, they're buying it, so, like... But you're still front-loading the cost. It would be hard. I would have to, like, actually get down into the numbers of how much we get back through money feeding through the community. However, if that cost was shared among all consumers, it would be a small burden. If a single person consumed 10 liters per year, the individual burden would only be 220 Japanese dollars per year. With the recent wage improvement, that was about half a day's wage. But the thing is, we could just have that. But they refuse to. Dumb. For the burden of only half a day's wage, they could taste real soy sauce for a year. Rose had been sure that it would get that level of support, but... There's also a lot of poor people. It's impossible to ask them all to bear the burden. Even we wouldn't be able to do business. Well, whatever. I hate these fucking people. Isn't that what your Primavera has been saving our money to do? It's impossible, Claudia. Even Primavera doesn't have such extraordinary funds. But Chinatown's been buying that expensive soy sauce at even higher prices. If the GDS can do it, why can't Primavera? The Japanese city folk thought of Primavera and the GDS as forces of pretty much the same level. In truth, even Rose had once thought that they were on nearly the same level, since they can each represent their respective cities. However, there was no comparison between the financial power of the two forces. Well, to be fair, it's also way cheaper to have the fake shit, because you can just dump random fucking garbage into a soup and make it. The amount of soy sauce Rose had released into City 23 during the soy sauce fever was 100,000 liters. It's thought that the GDS had bought up nearly 70% of that. Also, the GDS was buying those $33 liters of soy sauce for $66. Twice the selling price. Okay, I thought it was 3 times. Twice either way. You can still buy another one. In other words, they had invested the massive sum of an estimated 5 million Japanese dollars to blunt Rose's soy sauce policy. That's not even that much. On top of that, they'd released the gathered soy sauce into the black market, and since they were probably selling at near the high countryside prices, the GDS might even be in the black. Well, they're selling their cheap shit too. You have to factor that in. Plus, some of the city folk were starting to suspect that Primavera had been trying to gouge them by selling soy sauce at triple the old price. From Primavera's perspective, they were taking luxury soy sauce that was out of the common man's reach and drastically lowering the price. But other people didn't compare against that hidden price. One bottle of the old luxury soy sauce cost more than 2,000 Japanese dollars. And that was back when the daily wage of Tokyo laborers was about 200. Like, if they're just stupid. I hate them. Fuck them. However, they didn't rejoice in the fact that this $2,000 had become 33. Yeah, like if you're not gonna like it, get fucked. They only compared it to the cheap prices they had found during the well-off pre-war days. You can't do that. They used to be able to buy it for $11 worth in modern currency. They had nothing to say except that $33 was triple the old price. It was outrageous. In other words, simply having soy sauce bottles displayed in storefronts for triple the price increased the number of people screaming about Primavera price gouging. You all are morons. Everything else has tripled in price at least. The more Primavera spread soy sauce distribution, the more they lost the support of the city folk, and the more GDS filled their pockets. I hate these people. Why even do anything for them? You might as well just let them fucking die. To combat that, Primavera would have to resist that with money too. However, as previously stated, they would need an outrageous sum of money to do that. There was no comparison between Rose, who wanted to restore soy sauce culture out of goodwill, and Wong, who was waging war with the vast financial resources behind him. Wong had already been declared the winner of the soy sauce war. And it's not just soy sauce we're talking about. Here and there, stores have started making deals with Chinatown to get soy sauce. When they do that, they all remember that buying from foreigners is much cheaper than buying from their countrymen, and that they can get many more things in greater quantity, with lower quality, is usually how it goes. But again, trying to explain that to them is like explaining a fucking child. If we leave things as they are, the community of countrymen from your ideals will fall to pieces. The idealistic desire to prioritize deals with our countrymen gave rise to a brief utopia. But ideals are no more than dreams. So it's a dream that they wake up from. Then they see Chinatown overwhelming quantity and lower prices. The problem was already getting bigger than just soy sauce. The Primavera's Family Foundation ceremony, where people would cry and applaud the society of mutual support among countrymen that Rose spoke of, seemed far away. That ideal, that dream that all of her countrymen supposedly share, was starting to fall down and break apart. Fuck these people.